Alright, gentlemen, what's good? This is my second attempt at this video because the first one I did on Friday night, I was a little bit drunk and I went back and I watched the video and I actually posted it on YouTube and I started watching it just because I do with all my videos. I go back and I watch, and because I don't do a whole lot of video editing. Actually, I do zero video editing, and I'll get to the point where I've seen some of these guys' videos where like the cut and it just gets straight to the point, and that's probably how I'll get some viewership. But the video software I work with, I don't even know how to fucking do it yet, but I'll get there. I went back, I watched it, and I was just sloshed, and I got a good kick out of watching myself. And when I'm gonna hang on to that video, it's gonna be saved on YouTube for my own private viewing one day. I drink like one day a week, and it's on Friday nights typically, or Saturday nights, whatever it is. And I like to have my own cocktails. I do not recommend you guys drinking. It fucks your whole system up as far as being in shape, as far as working out. And so I don't recommend it, but I do it. I got my vices once a week, maybe twice if I'm lucky. All right. So the name of this video is why you're having a difficult marriage. It's most likely because your wife is unmarriageable, okay? And I'm going to try to keep this mic away from my... That was the other thing I noticed in the video was I was like this, and you could hear me doing this. I was like literally eating the fucking mic. I'm going to try to keep it down here, all right? So I'm going to give you 4 points. The fifth point is going to be leading into the next video after this. And your wife is likely unmarriageable. And I'm not telling you this because I want to discourage you or try to convince you that your marriage is over or anything like that. And what I'm trying to say is it's going to take work on your end to... What I'm saying today is 90% of females out there are unmarriageable, maybe even more than that. It's very hard to find a woman out there that's marriageable, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video and why that's the case and what you can do in your marriage now to make that better and make that something work for you in your favor, okay? And my phone keeps going off. But anyway, point number one is this, okay? Why your wife is unmarriageable is point number one is this. She has had more sexual partners and more sexual experience than you have, okay? And that's very common amongst today. Don't forget that we live in a world where there's the 80-20 rule, where where basically 20% of the women, 20% of the men are having sex with basically all of the women, virtually 80 to 100% of the women. And that's because of social media. That's because of dating websites. Women will not go after men unless they perceive them as super hot. And that's just the reality of what goes on. I don't make these stats up. They're out there. So you have to understand that women today, they have unreal expectations of what they want in a man. And so what typically ends up happening is a woman will, in her 20s, party and have sex with all these guys with the top 20% of guys, okay? And these top 20% of men will give them dopamine hits when they have sex. And you as a husband, what you have to do is you have to see yourself as being a drug dealer, okay? An oxytocin dopamine hit provider for your wife. And most men today, on average, are not capable of doing that because women today they've been with all the bad guys, right? All throughout their 20s. They'll spend a good decade having a good time. I mean, fuck it. You know, if I ever come back in another lifetime as a female, a hot 23-year-old, I bet it'd be a great time as a female having sex with whoever the hell you want. And that's what goes on today with women, is that they're having sex. And your wife is probably no exception to this rule. You may know, I don't know. She's no exception to this rule. She, in her college years, if she's been to college, she's been with numerous guys. And it's not the dorky dudes. It's not the lower 80% of the college guys. It's the guys who are hot. And these guys are just taking, they're taking advantage of what's accessible to them because they can. It's the guys with the muscles. It's the guys with the sport athletes, these guys that are providing women with oxytocin hits. And that's what's going on. And that is most likely what is had been going on with your wife, okay? And if you're a single guy watching this, understand this might be something you're dealing with. And so the way to combat this is you need to basically be as sexually experienced with your wife, as your wife, excuse me. That means that you, as a man, you need to, I recommend first and foremost, you focus on yourself. You give your 20s. You don't even think about any long-term relationship until you're 35 at the very earliest. And in doing so, right, you, as the Rule Zero guys say, you make money, make muscles, and what is it? Money, muscles, and I forget the other one, but make money, make muscles, and go about your own purpose in life, and you go and you do your thing. And that's what I recommend highly. And when you do that and you go and you chase excellence, okay, which is what needs to happen, you'll see that women will start clinging to you. And I recommend that you in your 20s have sex with women. I mean, spin plates, like Rollo says. Read The Rational Male, please. And let me get back to the married guys, and that's really the point of the focus of this video here. Is your wife is probably more sexually experienced than you are, and that's just the reality. Okay, and that happened with me with well, I'm not going to get into that story, but the reality is promiscuity kills women, because what ends up happening is they get all these dopamine hits early and these oxytocin hits, and then when they hit their late 20s, they're looking for someone to settle down, and it always ends up some chump who's not sexually experienced and has worked and has some money and provisional needs to provide for these women, but they don't have the sexual experience to provide for women. And so the women, and this, you'll never hear this from women, and I wouldn't even have this conversation with women. And that's why I'm talking to men. And that's why I keep these videos, pretty rational, pretty clean cut and dry, and it's not going to be widely accepted in society, right? But the truth of the matter is that women, you're going to have to, men today just are not prepared when they marry women. Say you're 31 and she's 27, you've been with 8 partners, right? As a man. Well, she's probably been with 20 to 50, and that's the reality. Is the average guy today, and I don't have the stats. I've seen the statistics, or at least I've seen some articles on this. I'm not going to direct you to them, but I'm going to just sort of speak, and we'll call this an opinion, right? We'll call it an opinion so that YouTube doesn't, dox me on this, but this opinion can be researched and backed. But the average man today probably sleeps with about 8 women in a lifetime. And that's a lot for a lot of these guys. A lot of men today, you guys aren't having sex at all. And the average woman today is sleeping with 20 to 50 different men. Okay. And that happens, and it happens quick. And it especially happens when these girls get sent off to college and they're all of a sudden sport fucking. And they hit through, 20 different men in the first year, their freshman year. I mean, and it's like they think that that's average, and that's what the society tells them. That's what feminism tells them. That's what the gynocentric social order tells them they should do, because that's, it's so confused today. It's like women are being taught to be men, and men are being taught to be women, and it's just ridiculous, honestly. So promiscuity kills women, because it gives them, like any drug, the druggie benefits early on because they get all the high, and then later on it's like they get all the withdrawal. Anything that gives you benefits up front and has a negative on the back end, it's not good for you. So that's what's going on with women today. They end up in these marriages with men who just are not sexually providing for them, and that might be you, okay? And that's what I'm going to talk about on this channel, is as a man, as a husband, Christian husband, how can we learn and understanding that we, how can we get to the point where we want to have that, where we want to give our women those things? And that's why I talk about these things on this channel, and that's why I give you guys pointers as to what I've been through and how I've been through it. And I'm not going to give you guys a whole lot of too much personal information about me, but I've been there, okay? I was married early on. I was married in my early 20s, got divorced. After my divorce, realized that prior to being married, I probably had, been with maybe 10 to 12, 10 to maybe 10 to 15 different women, and then got married. And then after that, I got divorced, became a bouncer at one of the premier bars here where I live in Pittsburgh, and then my numbers skyrocketed because I had this experience, and my ex-wife was a BPD. There's a number. I have a whole video on that you can watch. It's called My Story Part 1 and 2. I have to create 3 and 4, and I will at some point, but I got stuck into doing I had all these other ideas for other videos. But yeah, so that's point number 1, and I've spent a good 10 and a half minutes on that. And I want to give you point number 2, and point number 2 is this. This is why you're having a difficulty in your marriage, is you've lost frame, okay? And I've touched on this a number of times. This is in Rollo's book. You have stopped going to the gym. You've stopped riding your motorcycle. You've stopped. You sacrifice things. Instead of going to the gym on Saturday morning, you go to your, you go with your wife and your kids to the gymboree. Well, your wife can handle the gymboree. Let her go. I know this from personal experience. She may bitch at you a little bit, but it's essential that she knows that you are leveling up. Go to the gym. It's okay. Okay. That's why when they can handle it. Your wife can handle it. She'll complain, and she'll say, "Oh, it feels like you don't want to be with us." You just say, "Hey, I need this for myself." You don't even give an explanation. You go, "I'm sorry you feel that way, babe, but this is what I need. I love you." And you go to the gym, and that's that, okay? You lost frame. You got fat. You stopped doing all those things that you originally were. Let me give you an example. The reason why I have this haircut, right, at the age of 40, right, is because it's a faux hawk, right? It's exactly what I had when my wife met me, when I was, a decade ago, and I was working at a bar, and I've had this haircut for a while, and I love it, and I'm never getting rid of it as long as I'm blessed enough to have hair on the top of my head, and yeah, that's why I have this haircut that most 40-year-old men would not think about having, right? And times are changing now, and I thought one of the things I did in my first marriage when I was in my 20s was I tried to part my hair and to make it look like I was a minister and it looked fucking ridiculous and corny. And from there, I stopped going to the gym, and from there, I got fat, and it was like, yeah, granted, I was married to a BPD chick, and there was no way that this was going to last anyway, but I lost frame real quick. And to be honest with you, up until me finding the red pill, which was about a year ago, right when the whole COVID thing hit, I had all this time in my hands to actually, try to keep this down here, to actually read and find videos, and I was fortunate enough to have that. I was losing frame after my wife and I had our kid. I was losing frame. I was getting fat. I was falling back into those old blue pill ways. And then I found the Rule Zero guys through Gonzalo Lira first on YouTube, and then Rich Cooper, and then from Rich Cooper I found Rollo, and I think a lot of guys, it's very common natural algorithm of how that shit works. But excuse me. But yeah, you've lost frame, okay? Just understand that the whole point of point 1 and 2, which is your wife is more sexually experienced than you, and you have lost frame. That's point 1 and 2. Is that this whole thing, the idea of I want to put you back in control. Right? You're the one who can put yourself back into control. You don't have to have had more sexual partners in your wife to be good at giving her sexual experiences, okay? You don't have to. You can look these things up. You can go. There's tons of stuff out there. Sterling Cooper, I've talked about him. He offers a course that I'm thinking about purchasing at some point, even though I've done things in my own past. There's ways for you to grow your penis. There's ways for you to get in shape. You can go to the gym. You can do all these things. You can get good at being sexual in bed. And you can find tons of free shit on YouTube, okay? And I've given you some pointers on some of the videos on how to get porn sex from your wife. I'll probably do another video on some recent shit I've been doing with her. I've been getting really great results. I'm very excited. But the point of this video isn't to discourage you and telling you that your wife is unmarriageable. The point is to tell you that you can become the guy who makes it work. All right. So point number 3. She didn't have, and this is a point that is out of your control, but it's also a big point. All right, that you have to understand that this next point doesn't disqualify a woman if she didn't have a traditional family household. It just means that it makes it more likely she's unmarriageable. Okay, because today the fact of the matter is most people don't come from traditional households anymore. But point number 3 is your wife didn't have a traditional mother and father home to learn from. And this goes back to Rollo's 4th book. I've only read his 1st and 4th. 3rd I have not. I'm going to go into a chapter on red pill. I'll read on red pill parenting. The 2nd book I've read the parts where that pertaining to my wife's age, and he breaks down a timeline of where women are in what stages in life. I recommend you get all 4. But your wife did not grow up with a traditional household, and that comes into his 4th book, which he talks about the hardware, firmware, software. Software would be society, feminism. Firmware in the middle, or the hardware at the beginning, is everything that human beings have evolved to learn over hundreds of thousands of years, millions, whatever, of evolution. Whether if you're a Christian, you could be God putting that initially in us. And that works too. But the firmware is the one in the middle, in between the hardware and the software, which is basically the upbringing, right? Like what your wife saw early on. And the software today, the feminism is so toxic, and it's everywhere. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's everywhere. And most men have realized how fucking ridiculous this is, which is why we've stopped watching cable. I think the only people watching cable today are women, for the most part. It's not a place that's friendly for men. Like every time I watch something, it's talking about how men suck, right? Or some ad or some shit like that. And this is why men have retreated to YouTube, and we'll enjoy the platform while we have it, but YouTube is ultimately going to be run by the same people that are running the cable, and at some point these videos will no longer be there, right? But I'm going to make them while I can. So she didn't have a traditional home to learn from, all right? And that means that there's nothing to override the nothing to override the Sex in the City. The shit that tells them it's okay to have sex with whoever you want. There's no consequences. Femme empowerment, strong woman. They're all strong women, yet women are 40% more likely to be on SSRIs. It's a sad reality, but we have to live in it. So if your wife came from a single mother household, or came from something that is where there wasn't a mother and a father showing her how to be traditional, it's going to be a real problem for you. And this ended up being something that I required in me looking for a wife. And I after my first marriage, I said I put a 20-point list of what was most important. Right on the top of that list was traditional mother and father. And I didn't know why at the time, but I said, this is so important. And it is. It's very important. You want to have a woman who's seen what it's like to be raised by a traditional mother and father. And if that means that that's the expectation for you, and that means that it takes forever for you to find it as a man, fine. So be it. You could be 45 years old and still looking for it and still have hope for the future. You could be 50 years old as a man and start having kids. You'd be fine. Okay? You might not live to see their grandchildren, but at the very least, you've lived life on your terms and in the way that you want. And so that's what I recommend. All right. Point number 4 is your wife, she should not be and this is point number 4 as to why your marriage may suck and it's why it's not working out. All right, is here. Excuse me. Why your wife is unmarriageable is she is either overweight, she's not friendly, okay, and she's masculine. Okay, if she's overweight, she's not friendly, right, and she's masculine. She acts like a dude. And so many girls today try to act like men. It's like, well, I'm a badass bitch. I'm gonna sleep with 50 different men. Only men can sleep with 50 different partners and have no psychological effects. And I've already explained that early on in this video. Only men can fucking, I can bench press 225 pounds easily. Women can't do that. Men and women are different, and women today are told that they should be like men, and they really genuinely believe that they're better at everything than men are, because that's what society says. When literally women have invented, just think of innovation alone. What have women invented other than the MRI machine? What have women invented? And I'm not taking away from women. I love women. My interactions with women are my favorite interactions. Okay, when I'm with men, there's an expectation for me to perform, and if I don't perform, it's tough. With women, it's just easy for me. I talk, I flirt, I have fun. It's a good time, and I love women. Okay, and it won't matter at this point. I'm sure, like in V for Vendetta, I'm quite certain they'll say so, as to whatever that means, as far as me being this or that, or woman hater, misogynist. I'm quite certain they'll say so, and I'm not. I love you. My mom I love the most. Okay, my grandma I love the most in this world. Those are the two people that I grew up loving the most, other than my father. It's just not true, but I see things for what it is, and that's why this is Project Aletheia, because truth is unpopular. Okay, we're up to 22 minutes now, and your wife, that's the 4th point, is that your wife she's fat, she's unpleasant, and she's masculine. And if she's any of these things, any one of these 3 things, it makes her unmarriageable, unfortunately. Okay, and that's just the reality. And you're going to have to work past these things. Now, shout out to Kevin Samuels, and this is where I got these 3 points. If she's the counter to this, if she's fit, feminine, and friendly, you're good. If she's all 3 of those things, you're golden. If she's at least one of those things, fit, you'll tolerate her, right? And that's where so many guys tolerate these BPD chicks who are fucking radicals, because they look good and they're good in bed, right? Cool. Good luck. I mean, a lot of women today are not fit, okay? If she's feminine, which for me, that was a big part of my wife, right? And every once in a while, my wife has the software that comes out, and she wants to be argumentative about certain things, and I have to set my points, and I've had a video about that, and I actually made a video. My previous 2 videos were about that, me dealing with her software that comes out, because it comes out on so many. It comes out, I would imagine, virtually all women today at some point. All right, no matter how good they are, and my wife and I are completely compatible. She's a total compliment to my life, and my marriage has been fantastic. And I have no squawks or squirms. I'm very, very, very fortunate to have met my wife in the way that I did, and so that's why I'm putting these videos out, because I want men to have experienced what I experienced, as far as coming from failure to success and learning, changing my life, my goals. I've changed my mind about life, and that's going to be a video I'll come out with in the future. But this is a big point. Point number 4 is, if your wife's not fit, feminine, or friendly, if she's not any of those 3, you have a problem, and that's going to be outside of your control, okay? If she's at least one of those 3, you're good. If you maintain frame, if you are leveling up in your own life, she will live up to those points. She'll have to, otherwise she'll lose you. And if she loses you, it's her loss. And you have to be willing, this is the point, and point number 4 is, you have to be willing to cut ties with your wife. You have to be willing to say this is over. You have to understand, like, if you're a Christian man, you're worried about divorce. Divorce is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Okay? Not fulfilling God's plan for your life and utilizing everything that you are as a man and the way God designed you, that's a failure. Okay? And sometimes women are holding us back. And that happens. Right? Especially if your woman is cheating on you, that's your opportunity to be like, dude, I'm out. Ghost. Later. You have a straight up permission from Jesus to be done with her. Do it. Okay? Also, God is in the business of divorce, and I put a video out there. You have, I think, Matthew 24. In heaven, there's no male or female, right? There's no, like, literally, when you die, God separates you two, right? And for a lot of you men, that's fucking music to your ears. It's great. Thank God, there's a way out. Thank God, literally. So, yeah, that's the point. Is those are triggers. Okay, if she's fat, she acts masculine, she's not friendly. I mean, they need to understand. Women need to understand that is repulsive, it's repugnant, it's insufferable, and you need to communicate that to them. And when they act that way, you need to act accordingly. If they get unfriendly, you do not reward it. You do not apologize. You back away. Okay. Point number 5, and this is going to come out with a second video for this. It's going to be what you can do about some of these behaviors. Okay. What to do? What can you do when your wife is displaying these behaviors? When you feel as if she's not treating you, or you're not getting sex from her that you want, when she is disrespectful to you, when she puts you down in public, those are all red flags. Okay, and it could be anything. When she's had more sexual partners than you, what do you do when you're stuck in a marriage in this situation? And that's what the second video is going to be, is some ways for you to deal with this and how to deal with it. All right, and so that's been my rant for the last 27 minutes. If you are one of the 3 people that will ever watch this video, thank you. Do hit the like button. That would be much appreciated. But yeah, so that's it. The next video, and my 5th point, is what can we do about this? And that's what the next video is going to be. Give you some points on how to deal with this. All right, later.